one who has already mastered oneself and commits no evil, who has overcome every temptation and turmoil of this world. Within such a person dwell radiant wisdom and boundless insight. Who could deceive such a mind or lead it astray? True strength does not come from the outside. It begins with governing one's own heart. A person who can observe and calm even the smallest stirrings, desire, anger, or laziness, cannot be shaken by any outer temptation. When the mind becomes bright and still, it forms a firm cinder that no one can confuse or turn from the right path. May today be a day of tending your own heart, quieting its disturbances, and resting in calm clarity. Having torn apart the net of temptation, he moves without hindrance. Having abandoned desire, his heart is empty and clear. His resolve is deep and boundless. Who could ever disturb his path or lead him astray? This verse describes a person who has completely freed themselves from all the temptations that cloud the mind. When one is no longer swayed by desire, and the heart becomes quiet and spacious, no deception or distortion can shake them. One who walks the path knowingly, guided by inner clarity, is not carried away by others' words or by the lures of the world, for their mind has become steadfast and whole. May you also take a step back today from whatever unsettles your heart and find strength in quiet observation and gentle awareness, setting forth with courage and firm resolve, leaving home to train day and night, cutting off the cravings of the senses, and emptying the mind of greed. One learns the right path, and the mind becomes clear and bright. This verse describes the attitude of a practitioner who has steadied the heart and begun the journey with a firm determination and an unwavering daily discipline. They learn how not to be pulled by desire, by emptying the mind rather than filling it, by not chasing after restless sensations, and by following the true teaching. Clarity and brightness arise naturally within. In the end, practice is nothing extraordinary. It is the honest work of looking into one's own mind and learning not to cling to what simply passes by. May your heart, today as well, lean just a little more toward the path of what is right. Rare it is to be born in human form, and rarer still to live long once born. Hard it is to meet the Buddha in this world, and harder still to hear the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha reminds us how precious the conditions of this very moment truly are. To be born as a human is already rare, and to live long in that human life is even more uncertain. Even more uncommon is the appearance of a Buddha in the world, and rarer still the chance to hear and receive the Dharma directly. The fact that we can listen to the teaching now and seek to practice it in our own lives is not coincidence, but the fruit of deep virtue and countless conditions. May we not let this precious opportunity pass by, but engrave at least one small practice into our hearts each day to avoid all evil, to cultivate every good, and to cleanse one's own mind. This is the teaching of all awakened ones. This verse distills the whole path into a single, simple instruction. Turn away from unwholesome deeds, devote yourself to what is good, and tend to the purity of your own heart. To abandon evil is to release the dark habits we repeat without noticing. To practice good is to build a life of small, shining actions. And most important of all, to keep the mind clear, for when the heart is calm, the right path reveals itself naturally. May you take a moment today to look gently at your words, your actions, and the quiet place within. Among all practices, patience is supreme, and the Buddha taught that nirvana is the highest peace. Having gone forth, uphold your precepts well, and do not bring harm to any living being. This verse highlights patience as the very first quality a practitioner must establish, standing firm in the face of life's small and great difficulties. That steady endurance becomes the foundation of practice. It also describes nirvana, the ultimate rest, as the highest attainment, and advises that one who walks toward it should keep their precepts and cause no harm to any being, to govern the mind with patience, and to live without harming others. These two simple principles form the solid ground of the path. Do not slander or harm others. Keep the proper precepts and protect all living beings. Restrain your appetite and reduce greed. Cultivate wholesome deeds in a quiet place, and let wisdom dwell in a pure and peaceful mind. A life lived in this way is the very path of righteousness. To avoid harming others through our words and actions, and to discipline ourselves with restraint. These are the simplest teachings, yet often the most difficult to uphold. But a small act of moderation, a single gentle word, can become a firm step toward reducing desire and illuminating wisdom. Today, may you observe your words and actions more closely. Set aside desires by even one small step, and take a moment of stillness to reflect within. In the place where these small practices settle, wisdom begins to grow. Even if 7 precious jewels were to rain down from the heavens, human desire would never be satisfied. Pleasure stays only for a moment, and suffering soon follows behind it. The wise awaken to this truth on their own. Desire does not fade when it is fulfilled. Instead, it tends to call forth even greater desires. No matter how much wealth or joy one gains, if the mind is not content, all of it becomes nothing more than a fleeting illusion. Chasing after momentary pleasure means accepting the suffering that follows it. But those who understand the emptiness of desire choose freedom from attachment and find peace within the mind. Today, take a moment to notice where your heart is being pulled. When you choose the quiet that stays over the pleasure that fades, wisdom begins to illuminate your life. Even if one could enjoy the pleasures of heaven, one does not cling to them. Instead, one finds greater joy in the fading away of greed. Such a person is the true practitioner, the one who follows the path. There are countless pleasures in this world, some so dazzling and sweet that they feel almost heavenly. But when the mind becomes attached to them, desire only grows deeper, and peace drifts farther away. True joy does not come from possessing more. It arises when desire quietly subsides, and the heart becomes lighter. Letting go rather than holding on is what opens the door to real freedom. Today, instead of asking, "What more can I gain?" try asking, "What can I release?" Even a small act of letting go can make your heart wider and brighter. When people of the world are seized by fear, they run to the spirits of mountains and rivers, set up images of gods and shrines, and offer sacrifices in hope of receiving blessings. When life becomes uncertain, people seek comfort in unseen powers, believing that leaning on something outside themselves will ease their worries for a moment. But the peace gained by praying to external gods can only soothe fear temporarily. It cannot remove its root, for fear does not come from the outside. It arises within our own minds. True peace appears when we set our hearts upright and cultivate the strength to rely on ourselves. This inner strength remains unshaken, no matter how the world may change. Today, instead of looking outward for refuge, try turning your mind inward. In the quiet moment of returning to yourself, true peace begins. All the refuges people turn to are neither auspicious nor the highest sanctuary. None of them can truly rescue us from the many forms of suffering. The powers we rely on out of fear may soothe our hearts for a moment, but they cannot erase our suffering for us. The pains of life arise from our own attachment and fear, and unless we face our mind directly, no god or symbol can change the root of our suffering. The true path does not come from outside. It begins with the change that arises within. Only when the mind becomes calm and wisdom begins to grow do the chains of suffering start to loosen. Today, try setting aside some of your expectations of the outside world and gently observe the changes within your own heart. That very awareness becomes the truest refuge. By taking refuge in the true path and following the teachings in those awakened, one comes to understand the Four Noble Truths: suffering, its cause, its cessation, and the path, and in time attains right wisdom. When we understand what suffering truly is and look closely at where it arises, life begins to change little by little. When we recognize that suffering can cease and that the way toward that freedom lies in right intention and right conduct, our inner foundation no longer wavers. More important than the figure we call the Buddha is the path he walked and the transformation that unfolds within us as we take steps along that same way. Today, let a small inner light shine upon your heart. A single moment of insight can become the first step that changes your entire life. Birth and death bring endless suffering, yet one can cross beyond them by following the truth. The Noble Eightfold Path, the path that saves the world, brings all suffering to an end. Life unfolds within the unceasing cycle of birth and death, and with it comes inevitable pain. But the Buddha taught clearly, by following the truth, one can cross over. That truth is the Noble Eightfold Path: right understanding and right intention, right speech and right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. One who walks this path crosses the river of delusion and is no longer swept away by suffering. For the Eightfold Path is the way that brings every kind of sorrow to an end. May your heart find ease today as you walk with the Buddha's teaching. Take refuge in the sacred triple gem. It is the most auspicious, the highest refuge, for it alone is a path that carries beings across all suffering. The triple gem serves as a steady light, guiding us through the uncertainties of life. In this world are countless shrines and places where people pray for blessings, yet none of them can cut the root of suffering. But when one truly takes refuge in the triple gem, the mind turns away from greed and fear, and the path of wisdom becomes clear. Relying on the Dharma, the weight of life becomes lighter, and inner peace quietly begins to grow. May you hold the triple gem in your heart today and walk with calm and steady steps. A noble person is rare to meet, and such a being does not appear often in the world. Wherever such a person is born and lives, even the people around them naturally share in good fortune. There are many encounters in life, yet meeting someone who truly illuminates our path is uncommon. Simply having such a person nearby spreads a quiet peace, like air filling a room. Their words, their actions, each one gently uplifting those around them. Hence the ancients said, one bright-hearted person can light an entire household. Such radiance cannot be forced. It flows naturally from long cultivation and deep reflection. Today, take a moment to remember the one who brings light into your life, and quietly wish that you, too, may become a source of warmth and goodness for someone else. The appearance of all awakened ones in this world is a joy. Their words that reveal the true path are also a delight, and the harmony of practitioners united in one heart is likewise joyful. Where there is togetherness, there is always peace. In this world, countless voices surround us, yet only a few have the power to straighten and steady the heart. Right teaching is not merely pleasant to hear. It carries the strength to realign our lives. And when those who walk this path respect one another and gather their hearts as one, a natural tranquility arises from within. For when we walk together rather than alone, the way deepens and the heart grows softer. Today, take a gentle moment to attune your heart with those around you, for even the smallest harmony can blossom into great peace. One whose heart is purified by seeing the truth, who has already crossed the deep ocean of birth and death. The Buddha appeared in this world to rescue all beings from every form of suffering. The Buddha did not remain in his own awakening. For those of us who wander in pain, he lit a lamp in the darkness, and, with true compassion, revealed the path that leads across the river of life and death. A heart that has seen the truth does not waver. It becomes clear and still, no longer swept away by the waves of delusion. The Buddha's teaching exists to guide us toward that peaceful shore. Today, even amid the waves of suffering, pause for a moment and recall the path the Buddha illuminated. That path is always leading you toward peace. When a person is upright and clear, harboring no greed and aspiring to the Dharma, their merit becomes boundless. Such a one is truly a follower of the Buddha. To take refuge in the Buddha does not simply mean performing rituals or formal worship. It means setting one's mind upright, clarifying the direction of one's life, and laying down greed while walking toward the Dharma. This is genuine refuge. The more upright the heart becomes, the more naturally virtue grows. As greed fades, life becomes lighter and more pure. A person like this becomes a quiet source of light wherever they go. Today, try straightening your mind and letting go of just a little desire. That small practice itself is the path of taking refuge in the Buddha.